A very good morning to you listeners and welcome to Burgami Classic, Vision 92.1 FM's flagship current affairs program that dives deep into the most critical national issues. And as always, we aim to provide you with thought-provoking, incisive, analytic, and revealing discussions that encourage informed participation. On Burgami Classic, we analyze pressing issues shaping the political, economic, and social landscape of Nigeria. And today's topic is one that resonates deeply. Is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? Is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? In recent months, the Nigerian government has faced immense scrutiny over its spending habits amidst mounting economic challenges. With recent measures purportedly aimed at reducing the cost of governance, questions remain about the effectiveness and sincerity of these efforts. This morning, joining us to unpack this is our distinguished guest, Umar Sani. He's a seasoned public affairs analyst. For the first 30 minutes, we'll explore this topic in detail, and at the half-hour mark, our phone lines will be opened for your contributions. So stay tuned as we aim to uncover the truth behind the policies and their implications. We take a short break. When we return, I'll give you the background. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Wednesday's edition of Burgami Classic. And the topic is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? Here's the background. Nigeria's economy is grappling with significant challenges, from rising inflation to an unsustainable debt profile. For decades, a major concern has been the high cost of governance, from bloated bureaucracies to expensive political offices. Now, the burden of running the government has been a contentious issue. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recently directed government officials to cut down on lavish expenditures, limiting official convoys and restricting the size of delegations for foreign and domestic trips. For instance, delegations to the United Nations General Assembly and other international events were reduced significantly. Now, these measures, according to the administration, are part of broader efforts to promote fiscal responsibility. However, critics argue that these steps may not address the systemic issues driving Nigeria's high governance costs. Labor unions and civil society groups have also raised concerns about the growing disconnect between public officials' lifestyles and the harsh realities faced by the ordinary Nigerians. With these measures in place, can we say that President Tinubu's administration is truly committed to cutting the cost of governance? Are these reforms comprehensive enough to make a significant impact? This is the focus of our conversation today. As I mentioned earlier, we are joined by Umar Sani. He's a seasoned public affairs analyst. Good morning, and thank you for joining me this morning, sir.
Thank you, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive straight into questions.
Yes.
What would you say are the fundamental causes of Nigeria's high cost of governance?
Well, let me say that government expenditure is something that is very, very critical to saving costs in either ministries, departments, or agencies of government. It is not only in the villa or with only ministers that you can cut costs. Now, cutting costs includes so many other alternatives that can be looked at much more deeply. For instance, inflation of contract is a high cost of governance. If something ought to have been given contractually at the rate of 10 naira and it is given at the rate of 50 naira, that's over invoicing.
Right.
Yes, giving a larger amount of money to the contractor, so that at the end of the day, or when due diligence is not followed before a contract is given, a contractor comes to say, please, I'm ready to do this job at 5 naira. When the engineers within the government are aware that that job cannot be done at 5 naira, it can only be done at 15 naira, and then they give it to him, they know that at the end of the day, there will be augmentation. Because when he starts the work, he will stop and say, there is inflation, there is this, the cost of goods have gone up, and so it continues like that. It's a cycle, which makes it impossible for the contractor to finish the job, and then it puts government in a very bad situation. This, I give an example of the Kaduna-Abuja road. It has been given. Just recently, we read that the sum of 17 billion was released for the purpose of continuation of the road. But not quite long, the contract has been terminated. And Julius Baja has been asked to pack their load and leave the road. Now, if you make a quick research on what led to that termination of contract, you will discover that majority of the funds given to Julius Baja has gone into private hands. They are put on a very tight corner to release funds that are meant for the job. And so once you collect the money from them, then you are in trouble, because they will naturally, when they just start, where their money stops, they stop. And so these are very critical areas. So again, there must be sacrifice also on the part of government and government employees. When we were during the protests, I was the media advisor to former Vice President Amadi Sambo, and during that Good Luck Occupy Nigeria protest, after that, one of the things that was negotiated was that we also, as government employees, must also give out something. And so 25% of our salary was removed, and as a contribution to sustainable development. And nobody objected. We collected, we agreed with it, and 25% of our salary every month was going for that. So there has to be also internal sacrifices in terms of governance. Again, wastages, some things that you don't need, and then you are buying. Does Nigeria need, at this point, critical point, do we need a yacht?
Not at all.
No, we don't need a yacht. But the sum of 5 billion was used to procure a yacht. Now, the president has, an aircraft. But he went again and, traded that one and then bought another aircraft at a very humongous sum of money. That is also luxury that we cannot afford. Some presidents of other countries, they use commercial airlines for the purpose of their journey. Why do you have to take an aircraft that the cost of maintenance alone is exorbitant? Why don't you take something that will take you to where you are going, brings you back, and that's all? Then when next you are traveling. But if you have your aircraft, when you go, even the cost of parking is very high. These are things that we should be focusing on. Those things that are humongous, not traveling DTA, duty toll allowance, where how many people will travel? Maybe even if 100 people travel, perhaps the highest is per night is about $600 per night. $600, depending on the country that you are going. Now, if you are that is not cost cutting. Cost cutting is something that will significantly impact on the economy. Something that will show that government is really determined to make greater savings and use those savings for the purpose of developing the economy of Nigeria.
All right, let's look at the economic implications. How does the high cost of governance affect Nigeria's economic growth and development?
Well, because of the high cost of governance, we are now faced with multitudinal challenges, one of which is we always go a borrowing. We go to borrow from IMF with conditionalities. We go to borrow, from the World Bank with conditionalities. And these conditions are so stringent and so tough that it impacts on our living standard. You have to increase the cost of fuel. Look at, during Good Luck, the Occupy Nigeria protest was because fuel was supposed to move from 87 naira per liter to 141 naira per liter, removing subsidy. And the Nigeria Labour Congress and and political opponents went to town and started shouting. The president had to return it back to 97 naira per liter, and subsequently he even reduced it to 87 naira per liter. And so he left it at 87 naira per liter. When Buhari came, he moved it to 181 naira per liter. And when we were shouting, they said, no. We trust him, he will not spend it. He's not a spendthrift. But don't forget, what Good Luck did, he created something as a backup, as a cautionary measure. There was Shopee. This Shopee program was responsible for the repairs of narrow gauge rail lines, was responsible for the creation of agricultural outlets like the Nagupreneur that Mr. Adeshina ran. It was also responsible for UWIN program, which was run by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and so many other initiatives that gave the ordinary citizen some support. Conditional transfer. All these things were as a result of that subsidy removal. Here, what we have is that subsidy is removed, but we don't see anything. So governance is tougher, on the masses and not on the leaders, because they continue with their style of living. The food they eat is the same thing. Everything they do is the same thing. So cost of governance, impacts negatively on the citizens. If the cost of fuel is high, the cost of movement of goods and services naturally will be high. So it has a multiplier effect. Anything that affects fuel affects other things. So to be able to, not only fuel, now the devaluation of our naira makes it impossible for importers to import items at a cheaper price because our naira is weak. Even in terms of exports, it depends. We also have the issue of foreign direct investors who are supposed to come in. Those who are producers of goods and services within the country, pharmaceuticals and so forth, have left the country. For instance, before the departure of some of these pharmaceutical companies, Augmentin, which is a natural antibiotic, was going for 5,000 naira. As I'm talking to you now, if you want to go and buy Augmentin, it's 30,000. So this has affected the generality of the people and not the government. So reducing cost of governance and cost of running government is very key to national development.
All right, thank you very much. What specific reforms do you think are necessary to make a lasting impact on reducing government costs?
Well, this brings me to the issue of Mr. President's taxation policy. It is very important. It is a civic responsibility of every citizen to be able to pay his taxes. But there must also, government's responsibility is to provide that conducive environment where the citizen will be able to make money and be able to pay his taxes. Where you have not been able to provide that conducive environment for the citizen to be able to generate money, putting taxes on the citizen amounts to committing harakiri, because the citizen cannot even get something to feed, yet he is expected to pay taxes. But I'm not surprised, because every leader gives, you cannot give what you don't have. You give only what you have. When Buhari was there as our leader, during his first appearance into national politics as a military man, there were two things that he was very good at. One, arrest and detention of people. Secondly, changing of the naira, surprise change of the naira. These were his critical points. They were able to change naira within 1 week during their time, and so forth and so on. Now, when he came for the second time, these were the things he was pursuing. He was pursuing detention of people, blame game, detention of political opponents, and then the redesign of the naira. Tinubu's legacy in Lagos State is about taxation. He's an excellent tax master that, he was able to raise the internally generated revenue of Lagos State from a meager 6 billion to a higher 15 billion during his period. And I also happen to know, because I've been in Lagos severally, to understudy the tax system of Lagos. And in Lagos State, even if you want to see the governor, if you write a letter, you want to see the governor will send your letter to the tax office. The tax office will now clear and say, this man is a taxpayer, before you can see the governor. So, the general insecurity in the country and so forth is also a cause for concern as to how we can improve the cost of governance. The farmers who are supposed to go to the farm to farm produce and sell it and make competition higher and make things cheaper cannot go to the farm. Because even if they do, demand and supply factors, the demand outweighs supply. And so it increases the cost of these goods and services within the economy. And so the only sure way is that, one, government must provide that conducive environment. Government must provide the necessary security. These are some of the responsibilities of government. And government also must not shy away from its own social responsibility. Because nowadays, government does not care to provide hospital, to provide these are social responsibility that helps the citizens to reduce their cost of medication, cost of so. Now you have to, if you want good medication or you want good treatment, you have to go to private hospitals for you to be able to get what you need. Government hospitals don't provide that. And even if they provide those services, the drugs that you are supposed to buy, they are not available. So you have to go to private
outside the hospital,
or pharmacy and so forth and so on to go and get it. So these all along lump up together to create, a situation where the citizens are left to fend for themselves, and it has brought us to where we are today, where a citizen cannot boast of having 1 square meal per day. I can assure you, I was in Kaduna and I was discussing with some people, and they were telling me, for those people who understand Hausa, they were telling me now that kanzo, which is the remnant of food that has been eaten, is now washed, dried up, and then resold for people to eat. This is the situation where we are. And so it is important for us to look at how will government, anytime there is a shout for hunger, government will now send rice across states, send rice to this state. Those bags of rice don't get to the ordinary person. And even if it is subsidized and you are supposed to buy one bag of rice for 40,000. No ordinary person will be given the advantage to buy rice for 40,000. The market people will come and buy it, at a higher rate and continue to sell it at that rate. So there is no proper channel of discharging government's largesse to people. Now you hear that about 25 million people or so have received conditional transfer of 25,000. If you take a study and you say, okay, let me call about maybe 200 people in my state across, maybe 230, each local government, 10 people, you will not find 10 people, 20 people who will tell you we have received 25,000.
All right, if you're just joining, this is Burgami Classic, and today's topic is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? With me in the studio has been Umar Sani. He's a public affairs analyst. What is your perspective on the calls for public office holders, particularly members of the National Assembly, to be paid the minimum wage?
Well, the minimum wage, you can't pay it to somebody who is representing quite a number of people, and those people's hopes and aspirations are on him.
Why is that so?
Because our system of governance is such that when a person is elected, the people do not bother about the responsibility bestowed on him by the Constitution. A member of the National Assembly is elected to go and make laws for peace, order, and good governance of the country. But the people, when he goes back to the people to say, okay, I have been able to sponsor 30 bills, out of which about 10 of them have been signed into law and they are an act of the National Assembly, they don't want to hear that. So we have a followership that is more infrastructurally concerned. What they will now ask him is, what project has he been able to attract to their own area? In terms of constituency project, what has he done to develop their area, and so forth and so on? And behind that, there is also a malicious demand for monetary inducement. Otherwise, he will not be re-elected. So most of the members of the National Assembly are trying to make more money to be able to secure their seats in the subsequent election. However, if our people are such that their level of literacy and understanding of politics is such that it is an American style, where people look at what you can do in terms of your job. I was able, during this recent election, I saw an old lady who was asked who she voted for, and she said she voted for Trump. And she was asked why. She said, well, she has looked at both of them, that Trump may be a liar, he may be an unreliable person, yeah, he may be, but at the end of the day, her conclusion is that he is the only person who can get the job done. Now, this is an elderly lady telling you this. So if our citizens are like that, they believe you can deliver, and then they vote for you. But most of the people we are getting at the National Assembly are people who cannot, even by virtue of a credible election, they cannot get there. But because they have bought their way, they have given enough money to citizens. The citizens vote for them. So if you say they should get minimum wage, what you are saying is, let them explore other means to circumvent the law to be able to steal more money. So there will be more ways of public looting of public funds, because if you force them to say, okay, let them take, that's why they are now defending what they are collecting. They are saying this is what they use it for, this is what they use it for. Even if it is not so, at least we know that, minimum wage cannot work is not an employment agency, it's an elective agency. Minimum wage is given to people who are employed, who will continue to receive money for a number of years, for even 35 years. If you start job, it's either by the law establishing the civil service now. It is either you work for 35 years, or you are at the time of you have reached the age of retirement, which is 60 years, depending on the job you are doing. If you are a judge, 65 years and so forth. In fact, they are trying to make it 70 years for judges. So you have longer time of collection. But this one, you have 4 years to collect. After 4 years, you now go back to your constituency. And you may not be elected again. So I think this is why they are arguing that they need to have some funds to be able to service their community.
All right. How can institutional reforms enhance transparency and improve service delivery in the public sector?
Yes, very important. Institutional reforms are those things that keep bigger economies in shape. Now, institutions, we have always had the advantage of shouting, stronger men instead of stronger institutions. If you want to talk about performance, you begin to say Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, performed. You begin to say Nnamdi Azikiwe and Michael Okpara performed. You begin to say that Chief Obafemi Awolowo and S.L. Akintola, they performed. Now, we are now creating stronger men. Men who every credit is given to them. Now, if you have stronger institutions, if anybody starts something good, somebody who is coming in will continue whether he likes it or not, because institutionally, the framework and the template has been laid for him to come and continue. So institutions give credence. You can't deviate. No American president, for instance, can come and publicly say, I'm going to negotiate with terrorists, because it's not an American policy. Institutionally, Americans have agreed that they no negotiation with terrorists. And so many other things which are institutional, that you cannot do this as an American president. You can't do, the institution will checkmate you. The FBI will investigate you as a president. This CIA would investigate you. So, because as an American president, you have to be above board. Now, look at Trump had 41 indictments. He was a former president. How many former presidents in Nigeria can have 41 indictments? Because they are more or less above the law. The institutions revere them, they value them, so nobody can be investigated. But if we have strong institutions, irrespective of what the status they have attained, they will be forced to come an account for what they have done, their stewardship while they are in office. And that is a system. And so when people know that they will be held to account at any point in time, they try to be very modest. They try to be, very honest and truthful in the running of affairs of state. So bringing our institutions to international standard is very, very important.
All right, finally, quickly, are there lessons Nigeria can learn from other countries that have successfully reduced the cost of governance?
Well, cost of governance, for instance, like I rightly mentioned, is everywhere. Cost of even running elections in Nigeria is very humongous and outrageous. We are doing democracy. Again, we have a bicameral legislature, which means we have House of Representatives and the Senate, and they all come from the same constituency. So why do we need 360 here and 109 here to represent the people? And most of the job is given to the Senate, 109, to clear appointees, to do this. Majority of the job is given to the Senate. So if the Senate has more responsibility, Why don't we scrap the House of bicameral legislature, and then just do one single legislature, so that we will save costs and save cost of expenditure in terms of that. Again, we will learn so many other things from other countries in terms of the way they run election. You didn't see in America there was an election. You didn't see any INEC chairman coming out to announce. You didn't see. You can even vote. You have a voting center. You just go and vote and you go away. You know, and nobody is shouting rigging. They cheated me. They rigged the election, because it's electronic. The moment you vote, it's recorded. You know, and then I'm not saying we must do electronic college, but at least we can improve on our own system where you do manual collation, manual. These are all costs along the way. You know, people then voter apathy, voter buying, and so forth. These are costs. You steal money to be able to buy the voters. You know, so these are all increases in costs that are supposed to, and these things, you know, is a cycle. So we have to learn from, you know, countries who have been getting it right, who have been doing it the normal way. We also have to have some civic orientation as to our minds, how we should be able to do. We should not be bad followers. If we have bad leaders, we can also continue to be bad followers and then try to say we need change. There is no way you can get change if you continue to do the same thing over and over. If people are rejecting money and they are voting the right people, we will have good people running the affairs of state, and there will be no need for us to be complaining. But if even a simple macaroni or spaghetti can get somebody to change his mind and vote for somebody else. So we have to learn we have to do our homegrown democratic principles, and then we also have to learn from other countries who have succeeded, how they have been able to succeed. Every time our power situation is very, very bad, you know, and it is most times deliberate. The national grid will collapse. In a year, the national grid can collapse 15 times, you know, and our highest power generation has been 15,000 megawatts. Yet, we are only able to wheel out about 4,000 megawatts, and that is even not consistent. So these are issues that we have to look at and see how we will run this country, you know, to greater prosperity.
All right, there you have it. Thank you very much, sir. We've had a very enlightening discussion so far with our guest, Umar Sani, unpacking the complexities surrounding today's topic. Is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? And we're going to take a short break, after which we'll open the phone lines for you, our esteemed listeners, to share your contributions, ask questions, or express your views. Stay tuned as the conversation continues right after this break.
Constructive, appealing, engaging, people, issues, and dimension on Burgami. The converging point for Nigerians at breakfast on the Burgami table. Join the wagon and be more.
Vision 92.1.
Burgami.
Alright, welcome back to Burgami Classic here on Vision FM 92.1. We've been discussing the topic, is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? Well, now is your turn to join the conversation. The phone line is officially open for your contributions. Share your thoughts, ask questions, or express your views on the measures taken by the administration and whether they are sufficient to address the high cost of governance in Nigeria. Remember to keep your contributions under 2 minutes and be respectful so that we can accommodate as many calls as possible. All right, we have a first caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Abbas.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing splendidly okay.
All
My
right.
name is Bala Mohammed. I'm calling from Superfoods Market.
All right, you're welcome, Bala Mohammed. Go on, please.
Thank you. You see, about candidly speaking, cutting the cost of governance, I think it's a child's play. They can mention it and say it, but how is it going to be? You know, they said whatever starts by yourself, I've forgotten the adage, rather. You know, if you want to start anything, you start it by yourself. You understand?
Yes.
What we could have expected Mr. President to have done, you know, talking about cutting of government these expenses, is to track by himself, like you just said. You know, you want to cut the cost of our governance, and you buy a yacht that is not useful to you. You buy a jet while we have jet that are workable. You know, you budgeted money for the renovation of your vice president's house. Outrageous, like this you are building another villa. You know, you budgeted money for your wife's cars. You know, that are outrageous. So look at. So one would just look at it and make it a kind of laughing issue. You understand? And truly extend it even to the National Assembly. That is why the cost of even the government is just high. Because we practice virtually one of the most highest, or one of the most expensive National Assembly in the world. Even America, who are electing this a democracy, they don't do that. You understand? That's why they quarrel and they fight, they do anything. Or you see somebody, a senator, you know, shooting guns at the primary. Because he wants to be there. He knows what he's going to get there. You understand? Now, Mr. President ought to have told us that he's no more traveling abroad for medication. While he has a hospital just behind his own house. Now I will receive my medication in my house. I have a hospital behind my house. So I'm no longer traveling. They will believe. You understand? And I'm no longer traveling on different, just on a spree like that. And the National Assembly, if truly they want to cut the expense of these governors, they should start operating from their constituencies. Like when they have anything to deliberate in the center, they come from their constituencies, deliberate what they want to deliberate, they take their allowances, and they go back to their people there. That is how you see improvement even in the constituency. But somebody will remain here for 4 years, after starting a lot of money, then he will go buy spaghetti and start throwing to the masses because they have impoverished us, giving us their talliers to deceive us. So what are you talking? Is it true that they want to cut the government expense? I think it's a joke. Good morning.
All right, thank you very much, Brother Mohammed from Zuba Fruit Market for calling this morning. I think he raised a significant concern about the need for the commitment to cutting governance costs to start from the very top. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Abbas.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning? Your name and where you calling from?
I am fine. My name is Oga Gabriel.
All right, Oga Gabriel, please go on.
Abbas, we are talking of cost of governance. And the eye service this government has done is to say the minister, senator should not go beyond 4 vehicles on their convoy. That is not our problem. It's just an eye service because we are still seeing them in a very long convoy. A senator can go as many as 7 vehicles on a convoy, and nothing happens. We are still seeing that. That is not our problem. Can the leader of this government tell us how much a senator is collecting in a month? What is their allowances? How much is their allowances? How much is their salary? That is what we want to know. That is where the cost of governors will start from. If you want to cost of governors, that is where we will start from. Because that is where government is attractive to people, and they spend everything to get there. And when they get there, because they know they will take twice what they spend, do everything. People will do everything to get there because they know that the money is there. They will get what they spend, more than what they spend. Tell us how much a senator is receiving. Tell us how much you are paying the minister as allowances. These are the places that people that our money are being spent extravagantly. You are talking of cutting people who are going abroad with you on meetings. We don't know how many people have been going there. So even if you cut down there or not, that is not our locals. What you spend is what we want to know. There's no transparency. There's no accountability. So everybody will just do anything he likes in his office and go away with it. We don't know how these ministers are spending the money they give them. We don't know how the governors are spending the security vote they are giving them. They are giving them security vote every month. Yes, there is high insecurity in the country. They should stop this security vote. To me, they should stop it because it doesn't help. It's not helping us. Then, secondly, what are the minister of state doing? What is their work? We duplicated every appointment. Minister of state. What are they doing? To me, they should stop all these things and cut down appointments. Somebody is the secretary to the government. He has secretary. His secretary has secretary. An advisor have an advisor. I don't know. The senator, they say maybe the senator should just have about 3 or 4 domestic workers to be paid by the federal government. But if you go there, he packs all his relatives as workers and at the expenses of the government. What are they? How is he paying them? What are they doing there? Then, the office of First Lady, it is unconstitutional because I don't see it in the Constitution that there must be office of the First Lady. They spend a lot of money in this office. Office of the First Lady should be scrapped. We don't have it in the Constitution. What is the First Lady doing for Nigeria? How is she an employee of Nigeria? If somebody is just a wife of the president, they say it's the First Lady. They created office for her. And they are spending our money in that office. They are spending a lot of money in that place. It should be scrapped.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, bro.
So the expenses should be cut. It should be cut by reducing appointments, ministers, and all that. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Okay, Gabriel from Kwarimpa this morning, calling in. I think he's asking for more transparency and accountability, and he believes that will go a long way in cutting the cost of governance. I have another caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mr. Andy.
No, this is Abbas. Good morning, sir.
Abbas, good morning. My name is Abdullah Sharifu, and I'm calling from Mararaba.
Right. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Yeah, fine. See, it's a really wonderful pleasure. Let me greet your guest for his really wonderful analysis, Mr. Sani. You say one thing about this government. Whatever you do, and it's not really impactful or not at least being positive, people will always be happy with you. Now you said you want to do a whole lot of things to change the idea of, cost in government. The government has started in a direction, but the question will be, this direction, is it in the right perspective? Who will monitor this whole idea? And to which extent, with all this, will it get to? Because a case where you say, you barred some ministers, you barred some persons, and not talking to the National Assembly or the court generally across board, what we're just doing is like just putting a simple, small stone in an ocean. And so that will at least not give us the real thing we want as far as governance system in Nigeria is concerned. On the issue of taxation in Nigeria, I think there is need for us to at least pay taxes. But the question is, when these taxes are paid, what do they do with it? They see at least roll it back into their own expenses. Yet, the people will continue to suffer. So this suffering is what God do not allow. Otherwise, in all countries of the world, where you still read development, the Asian Tiger nations to be precise, they have passed through such phase. But the faith has been a wonderful one that has been monitored, that has been at least properly put in the right perspective. And so institutions were also used to checkmate all forms of corruption. But in this part of the world, called Nigeria, we still have a lot of people who do not want to see anything go. So there is need for this government to be more proactive in a step to at least doing the needful rather than at least just putting some of all these things on a wishy-washy platform, not getting the result that is required at the end of the day. That's my contribution, man.
All right, thank you very much. Abdullahi Shaributu. The topic is President Tinubu's administration committed to cutting the cost of governance? You can still be part of the program. We can take a few more calls before we wrap up the program. We have another caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Alhaji Sabala. I'm from Marawa.
All right, Alhaji Sabala, go on, please.
Good morning to get to the studio. And good morning to all the Burgami members. I'm very happy to hear the voice of Abdullah Shaributu from Burgami today.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to hear the voice of Hamza Abdul and he's going to be very back as well. Thanks for that. You see, the high cost of governance in this country, the reasons are many. We have been, I don't know if our own country or our own government learning from other developed countries. I don't know. Like this Senate of 18, this Senate of 18, other countries, the vice president should be the Senate president. And the Senate activities at all should be on contract. Whenever they sit, they pay. If they don't sit, let them go for their business. How can you buy a newspaper of 1.2 million per year? Ordinary newspaper. There are people that cannot even afford to buy their children mathematics textbook and English textbook for the 6 years they spend in primary school. If you are buying newspaper for somebody, 1.2 million, how many about it is something internet? It's much. Cut it off. At least 100,000 is enough for that. Now, when they sit, you pay. When they don't sit, they go. They need to contract. When they go to the constituency, do the offices there. So you come to say Abuja. We'll do allowance every year. Furniture allowance every year. Come on. It's too much. It's too much. SUVs, different cars. After another year, they buy another again. The old ones, where are they? Where are they? And what is the last part of those cars they are buying? You see, one person will carry more than 20 vehicles. Imagine how much fuel will he buy for them? How much is he paying the salaries of those 20 drivers? The PS, it's too much. So we should look forward and reduce all these costs. And you know why it's happening? It's because the way and manner we conduct our election is not conducive. They use money to buy this vote. They come in with money and they want to make money by all means and nobody is saying anything. You cannot ask anybody. You cannot tell anybody why you do this. Nobody will answer you. We need to look towards other countries. Nigeria was supposed to be the judge of Africa for today, if not Africa. If the plan of Sani Abacha and Nigeria would have been the highest in Africa today. But now look at our currencies. Look at the way and manner our security agencies are doing. Look at check around and see in what way you think we can stand other African countries today. But nobody's learning, and you must learn. You must keep learning and learning. That is the way you can move forward. Our own is too much. We spend much on governance, and the poor are suffering. Tell me, how many common man is there in the governorship or the senatorship or the House of Rep or in the minister today? None of them. They are all the big fish. They are all the poor. They are all the millionaires, friends, millionaires' children. Until we have independent candidates, where a common man from nowhere will come and win his seat, and that person will try to work for his people. That is the only way we can solve this issue. Because for now, if we keep going like this, I'm telling you, we are going down drastically. I don't pray for that. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Isabella from Maraba. Thank you to all our callers for your contributions and questions. You've raised some critical points about leadership accountability, fiscal discipline, and the measures needed to cut the cost of governance. At this point, let me turn back to our guests, Mr. Umar Sani, to react to the concerns and questions raised by our callers. Mr. Sani, over to you.
I think Nigerians have reacted, and their reaction is very clear. They are all in agreement with my position that there is an excessive high cost of governance in Nigeria. Some people have even gone further to give some of those things I didn't give. For instance, the cost of the residence of the vice president. There is a house of the vice president, which is the Akinola Aguda house. Yet, another house was built for the vice president. I don't know what Akinola Aguda house will be doing. Now, it will be empty. Then, there is Dodam Barracks. The sum of 4 billion was earmarked for the construction of Dodam Barracks to bring it back to shape. I don't know whether you want to have two seats of government, one in Abuja and one in Lagos. And the residence of the vice president, about 3.5 billion in Lagos. All these things are not necessary. They are very, very unnecessary. They are costs that, if they have been channeled properly, they will have impacted positively. And the government is not desirous, of reducing anything that people are complaining about. Now, this is a government that always wants to win. They want to win. Whatever they put in front, it must be passed. It must succeed the way they want it. Now, this tax reform bill, the constitutionally recognized National Economic Council, which is an advisory body to Mr. President, has advised him to withdraw that bill. But he said no, he was not going to withdraw. 36 governors have sat down, held a meeting, and said, please, withdraw the bill. Let there be wider consultation. He said no, he's not going to withdraw it. So the governors have now started intimidating their members and say anybody who votes for that bill, when it comes to 2027, we are not going to support you. So you see, a new crisis has erupted, and perhaps if the president wants to get that bill passed, then there has to be monies must change hands. So that also increases cost of governance, and so forth and so on. So I think our people are very determined. People they now know that there is suffering in the land, and we are united in ensuring that the cost of governance is reduced, economic policies are enhanced, and the living condition of the people, improves. There are 3 critical areas the government has been following in terms of corruption. Corruption is still there. In fact, it is improving daily. In fact, it is increasing daily. Corruption. I just read yesterday that some people were looking for a position, and somebody was complaining that he paid $1 million to the chief of staff. Some other people said they paid 2.5. Some other people paid $3 million to the chief of staff. So corruption is endemic. It is increasing day by day. Again, we heard that even the third front chief had to pay something to be able to get his way into that position. Now, if you pay $1 million or $2 million to be able to get to a position, it means that you are very sure that you are going to recover your money and then make an investment in it. Recoup more money to be able to enable you buy other positions.
It's a business transaction.
Eh?
So it's basically a business transaction.
It's business. now even employment, people who graduate from universities, when they go for employment, you have to buy the employment letter. It's 300, 400,000, 500,000. You want to enter police, you have to buy. Police is 300, 400,000. You want to enter police. Just as a recruit, you have to pay a lot of money to be able to. So how can you have a very, very sound police force? You know, how can you, even the Nigerian army, which is supposed to be something of a passion for somebody, is now an employment center. That is why we have an army that when they are in the battlefront, they are running away because they are not prepared. They don't have it as a passion to be able to fight war. They just take it as a form of employment because Nigeria is naturally not engaged in warfare. So we have quite a lot of areas we have to look at to be able to succeed in this country. And one of them is that things must flow naturally. And that's why I said institutions must go and do the right thing. Somebody who is qualified for employment should be employed. Even if you are not qualified for employment and there is something that you are qualified for, government should put you to go through some training and be able to qualify for that thing. By that way, we are retraining our people and making them useful to the society. And we are discouraging crime. Thank you.
All right, as we wrap up today's edition of Burgami Classic, it is evident that the conversation around reducing the cost of governance is a pressing one, requiring bold decisions and unwavering commitment from our leaders. The measures introduced by President Tinubu's administration are a step in the right direction, but the question remains, are they enough to address the deeper systemic challenges? We thank our guests, Umar Sani. He's a public affairs analyst, for his valuable insights. And we appreciate our listeners and callers for their thought-provoking contributions. Special thanks to Bala Muhammad from Zuba Fruit Market, Oga Gabriel from Gwarimpa, Abdullahi Sharubutu from Maraba, and Isabella as well from Maraba. Your engagement is what makes Burgami Classic the platform for meaningful dialogue. Now remember, governance is not just about those in power. It is also about us, the citizens, holding them accountable. Let's continue to play our part in shaping a better Nigeria. Stay tuned to Vision FM 92.1 for more enriching programs. Until next time, which is tomorrow, Thursday's edition of Burgami Classic will come your way tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm your host, Abbas Omar Farouk, reminding you to stay informed, stay involved, and stay hopeful. Have a great day. Special thanks to the producer, Chinedu Chianu, for producing and packaging this wonderful program. Goodbye.